everyone, I'm Lekha Pantula. I'm a neuroscience and AI specialist, and today I'm here with Charlotte Batt. She's a senior marketing manager at Boston, and we're an AI and tech system integrator. So Charlotte, hi, thank you for joining us on this beautiful sunny day.
Thank you.
So to just kind of start off the conversation, right? We've seen like a lot of AI emergence even within our company, but there's a lot of buzz surrounding AI. So where do you think currently we are with currently where we are at with AI?
So I think there is really high adoption with consumers. I think in business or in enterprise, if you want to call it that, there is a definite desire to adopt AI and to reap the benefits of improved efficiency, cost savings, revenue generation, innovation, and it's on everybody's agenda, right? So it's on all boardroom agendas, there's budgets being set aside, there are questions around staffing, skills, resources, and there are pockets within business that are maybe looking at how they can best utilize AI. But a lot of the time projects are getting stuck, and there's lots of kind of boring reasons for that. So often it will be the data isn't ready, so maybe something was started, a project was developed, and it looked great initially because it was done on maybe a small data sample. In reality, when they get to try to roll this project out, we find that data is all over the place. It's like it's in 10 different buildings, in different filing cabinets, and the AI can't then go and find all those different pieces of data to sew it all together to actually produce anything meaningful. So that's often kind of where we come in to help organisations understand of all the use cases they might have within their business, which one is the one that's actually going to be valuable to their business, which one is going to be the best chance of actually having success. But yeah, I think more and more organisations are realising that they need to get on, they need to do this.
So I think what you mentioned about data being siloed, I think is a really big blocker. Along with that, we also see like a lot of organizations failing at the most foundational layer, which is compute. So which of these actually do you think block people more?
I think data and infrastructure go hand in hand, but the thing that data is always an issue. It's been an issue for years. But the thing that people really underestimate is the compute that's needed to run AI. You need loads and loads of computing power to move data around. It needs to be moved around fast. Then there's the energy, so power and cooling that's required. So there really is a lot to think about. And if you imagine you've got like a Formula One engine and you drop it into a family hatchback, for example. The engine is amazing, it's going to be incredible, i.e. the AI is going to be incredible, except the car can't handle it. So if you start using kind of any old kit that you've got lying around, it's just not going to work, or the system's going to start to wobble and you're going to face challenges. So you really do need to be thinking about the whole picture, not just the models, the applications, the software. So you need to be really top all the way down, right to the bottom of the infrastructure layer.
I think what you said is absolutely right. AI is a full stack problem. You can't just optimize one layer. Data and compute and energy go hand in hand. But I kind of want to go back to the point that you made earlier about consumers adopting it. So how big of a risk is shadow IT in the industry? Like people just adopting AI within companies without anybody else knowing it?
So I think it's quite prevalent at the moment. I think there's lots of individuals that will either go to, for example, like a free chatbot, or even maybe their own individual paid subscription for something, and they have a piece of work to do, and they chuck this piece of work into that chatbot and get the work done, and it's great. You know, it's all turned around in 5 minutes. They've saved themselves loads of time, they've saved the company loads of time, and they've got probably a very good outcome from the steps and process that they followed there. But the issue is that really this is like the digital version of photocopying sensitive documents and leaving them on the train, because actually what you're doing is, unbeknown to the organisation and the IT team, is handing out information that possibly is sensitive about your organisation, and you know, we don't necessarily know where that's going or how it's being tracked, how that could be used. So, and it's not, you know, it's not a bad reflection on the employee. They're trying to do their jobs as well as they can do, and it's very well intentioned, but probably the leadership team doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been a plan developed or to enable those employees to do the right things in the right way. And so loads of companies across the globe are at risk of inadvertently giving information and data away without necessarily realising it or realising the implications that could follow.
Yeah. I think one concept that's upcoming and a lot of companies are trying to adopt is sovereign AI. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the purpose of sovereign AI is really to keep hold of your data, so you've got good data governance, your compliance team are happy, your data is not going out of the business, it's all controlled within your ecosystem, and you know, you have control of the entire deployment. Whereas, and this is where we have this sort of, again, you know, just relating into the cloud versus on-prem question, because it's very tempting to just start and get going and use cloud and think, right, I need to get started, let's just go and do it, it's easy, I can, you know, almost a pay-as-you-go model in effect, and not worry about the bills now. But actually, if you have a genuinely good solution and you want to scale it, the bills are going to come in and those costs are really going to spiral. So one thing on top of all the kind of governance and security of having everything on premise is obviously the additional savings or long-term savings that your business will gain from doing so.
Yeah. As you mentioned, I think a lot of people have struggle with, I want to start deploying AI and they run to cloud. That's also because I think there's a sense of apprehension and ambiguity, because a lot of people struggle to know where to even start. So why do you think that is?
I think if you look at the market, it's set up like AI is this really cool thing that we should all be doing, and there's a bit of a race, especially amongst businesses, as to, okay, how can I get my competitive edge by implementing AI in some way? So we're all thinking, okay, right, this is a gadget, let's buy this shiny new gadget, and actually, you know, we all fall victim to that. You know, I've got an ice cream maker, I have a bread maker. Do I eat that much ice cream or that much bread? Absolutely not. So they get used maybe once or twice a year. And the same follows through, right? So actually we need to start by thinking, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve for my business? So, you know, it takes 10 staff 2 weeks to complete insert boring task here. How could we make that task become 2 hours for one person, for example? And a lot of the time, actually, we don't even need to look beyond what we already have at our fingertips. So AI now is so inbuilt into so many of the systems that we already use and we're already paying for. So we should take time to kind of pause and think about, okay, have we got a bunch of AI tools that we just need to switch on and start testing and seeing where we get to with those before we then think about going beyond that. And I think that's always a really good starting point, and is a good time, again, if you haven't necessarily got the resource or the skill set within the business, that's the time when you're really thinking, okay, there's something that we need to do, is to then pull on outside help and get someone to kind of really shape that, and also to really understand what use cases are in your business and really which ones have potential to become successful and actually bring value to your business.
Absolutely right. I think if you remember when we went to that training session together, one thing that really stuck out to me was when they said the Pareto rule. Look at 20% of use cases that generate 80% of the outcome, and I think those form your best use cases where you can implement AI. So after scorching in the sun for very long, we have come inside for a little bit of AC, and we're going to continue the rest of the podcast here. So just carrying on from where we left off, Charlotte, I think we were talking about the challenges and blockers to AI adoption. And moving from there, I think one of the biggest barriers to AI right now is also the lack of skills and the lack of confidence in implementing AI. And where do you kind of see that come into play?
I think it really varies from organisation to organisation, and it really depends on how well established that business is, whether they're a startup or they've been around for 30 years, and indeed how kind of mature that company is in terms of its own organisational setup. So you can have businesses that have their own in-house data scientists and head of AIs, but you can also have the companies that, again, have the resource behind them, as in the funds to invest in an AI project, and maybe the systems, the processes, even the infrastructure, but they don't necessarily have that type of skill set in-house. And that's really the time where you need to think about what have we got, what can we make use of, and who else do we need to support us on this journey, and do we actually need external help? Is this something that we can bring in other people to kind of start us off, and then maybe there is a handover process partway through that project, and staff internally would get upskilled, or you just use somebody else to continually maintain and manage that project?
I think you're absolutely right when it comes to the kind of skill gaps we're seeing in organizations. I think a large part owing to how new AI is, but I think we focused a lot on infrastructure problems, on data problems, on skill barriers. But if we were to kind of turn the lens and try to look at if AI is done well, what does that look like?
I think it comes back to understanding that, first of all, we're not just looking at cool software that can that probably can do really good things, but you then go and buy feet first and then don't necessarily get the maximum potential out of it because you never really had a proper outcome that you were driving for in the first instance. Whereas the businesses that get this right are the ones that are trying to solve a real business problem. So, if it's in marketing, it might be, okay, well, I want to automate my campaign planning or content generation, or if I'm in legal, I might want help with drafting documents or reviewing documents. So those are real, not necessarily issues, but real tasks within business that take time, that take people, resource and knowledge and all the rest of it to actually get those things done. So if you're looking at using AI to help you reduce that time down so that you can spend time doing more billable hours or more execution on the marketing side of things, then you're already making your business more efficient, potentially more successful in terms of the revenue you can generate. And that all comes back to, right, let's look at the outcome first and then build, go backwards from that there. Then we look at software, then we look at data, then we look, the other way around, and then we look at the infrastructure before jumping into something that just on the surface sounds like it can do a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. We looked at what success looks like in general terms, but if we were to kind of dive into specific use cases and specific industries and where we're seeing most benefit in real life, I would, start with healthcare and life sciences. I think in Boston we've been working for a while on this vertical, and I just want to kind of hear your thoughts on what you think, where we can actually implement AI best within this vertical.
So the opportunities in both healthcare and life sciences are enormous. If you think about things like that AI can do to take away, say, repetitive tasks. So humans are always going to be needed in the process of, let's say, decoding DNA or drug discovery or medical image scanning. But AI can really help to accelerate that process.
Yeah.
That being said, it still requires an enormous amount of compute to complete those tasks. And if you imagine how much compute it actually takes to do that compared with one human or even one team of humans, you are saving sometimes years, and you're moving projects forward in a matter of months, sometimes even weeks, to get those things done. So huge opportunities there. And likewise in healthcare, again, it's taking the admin strain off of an already, at least in the UK, an already struggling workforce.
Absolutely.
Where you can support decision making, help with understanding or diagnosing a patient's needs much more quickly, especially for more kind of minor issues, let's say. So the absolutely loads of opportunity, but again, you have to deal with it in the right way.
Yeah.
Especially in the healthcare sector, we're talking about very highly sensitive data. A, it's people's private health information, and B, you don't want that information being shared or getting into the wrong hands, and you need it to be used correctly and in the right way. So compliance, security, governance are all then, top level factors when you come to building an AI solution around those things.
I think that's absolutely true. I think when we've initially started, just going back to the point that you made earlier, when we actually initially even started internally talking about healthcare as a vertical where AI can be implemented, the figures that we had in our head was the $9 billion 10-year parameter that drugs currently, traditionally that's how long and how much revenue it would take, and we're effectively kind of shrinking that down. I think we've talked about the skills barrier, we've talked about infrastructure issues, data issues, and kind of looking at holistically to understand AI as a full stack problem. The next part we'll actually be diving into what AI success looks like in different verticals. You just touched upon what it looks like in a general broad sense. So next, in the next stage, we can look at how successful AI use cases are being implemented in different verticals like life sciences, logistics, retail, legal and professional services, and more. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.